Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, May 27th, 2025 meeting of the Long Meadow School Committee. Mass General Law allows for remote participation at public meetings through June 30th, 2027. All votes, while there is remote participation, must be made by roll call vote. This meeting is being recorded and aired live on LCTV. School committee members, when I call your name, please say here for the record. Estelle?
Oh, oops, you know what? Oops, yeah. Addis on mute. My bad.
Sorry.
My apologies.
Oh.
So you'll have to start over.
Okay, I'm going to start again. Welcome to the Tuesday, May 27th, 2025 meeting of the Long Meadow School Committee. Mass General Law allows for remote participation at public meetings until June 30th, 2027. All votes, while there is remote participation, must be made by roll call vote. This meeting is being recorded and aired live on LCTV. School committee members, when I call your name, please say here for the record. Estelle?
Here.
Julie?
Here.
Michaela?
Here.
Zach? Zach, do we have you? Last call for Zach.
Otherwise, you have a quorum.
All right. Well, we'll circle back. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll start with correspondence.
Yep, an email from Mr. Alex Grant dated May 15, 2025, alerting the school committee to an email he sent to the select board regarding the proposed turf field at Long Meadow High School and the impact that that may have on the Long Meadow youth track and cross-country programs.
Thank you. We next move on to approval of minutes. We have a recommended motion.
Yep, I move the school committee approve the minutes to the May 15, 2025 school committee meeting as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Michaela. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. Estelle?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Michaela?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
And yes for me as well. Thank you. All right, that moves us on to business with guests. We're going to begin with the student handbook. I think Mr. Landers will be joining us for that portion of the event, or did you want to go in reverse
Could
order?
we do the middle school project
That works
first?
for me
Is
as
that
well.
okay?
Middle school building
All right,
project.
okay.
Come on down. Here we go.
Thank you. This was, this item was further down our agenda, and typically, I'm in a position to provide a report to the committee on where we are with the middle school project, but given the milestone that we are, that we've just recently crossed and the point we are at the project, thought it would make sense to welcome Adam D'Alessio, is the project manager from Colliers, and of course Armin Ray is the chair of the middle school building committee. So we have just a very brief slide deck that we can share with you, and we welcome your questions and any conversation. Just give me 1 second here. I won't go full screen because it will hide all of our remote attendees. So Adam, turn it over to you. Thanks for pulling this together for us tonight.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Yeah, so as Marty mentioned, my name is Adam D'Alessio with Colliers. We are the owner's project manager for the Long Meadow Middle School project. And so I just wanted to have a couple slides here just to go through, give an update on schedule and kind of where we are with the milestone with the MSBA and financially the total project budget that we're working on with the MSBA as well. So it's been just about actually 2 years now since we were entered into the MSBA program for the middle school project. So it's exciting in itself that we've come such a long way in the past 2 years. But this overall is a high-level schedule here. We started off the preliminary program and assessment where we kind of look over the Educational visioning plan. We look at existing conditions, so we went to Glenbrook, we looked at Williams. We looked at the building code review for both of those schools as well, and we did cost estimates for both of those projects as well. So the MSBA requires us to look at all options, whether it's just a code upgrade, addition renovation, or a brand-new building. So there was quite a bit of investigation at both schools, cost estimates, and that brought us into the site selection and preferred option after we've gone through that entire process, working very closely with the school building committee. We selected the Williams site as the main site for a consolidated school for 665 students. And then we moved into schematic design. And schematic design is bringing the project a little bit further along. You're developing, some floor plans. We're working with the district very closely on coming up with an ed plan, working with a DESE submittal, developing, kind of the flow of the class spaces, the classrooms, and how each grade is going to be set up within the school. And then we're also looking at the site and how we have opportunities to use the site itself as, a learning atmosphere to use inside the building, outside the building, and how that's all going to be set up. So we're still a long way away from a final product, but we are moving along very well through this. And that schematic design, there was a large submission that we had to go through, which was submitting the educational planning, the DESE submittal, all the floor plans, cost estimates for the project. We had to develop what's called a total project budget. And so it's a large Excel sheet that we went through during the school building committee meeting that we look at all the hard costs, the soft costs for the projects, and we submit that to the MSBA. There's some back and forth before that gets finalized, and we'll go through that in the next slide. But all this gets submitted to the MSBA. That was submitted on May 1st. And so right now, we're just in between schematic design and construction documents. And we have a meeting with the MSBA on June 8th where we meet with their board, and they're going to, it's the approval for the schematic design submission and sets that total project budget. And so that total project budget during this submission, once this is approved, this is the total project budget for the remainder of the project all the way through closeout. And so that total project budget covers everything that you would need to build the school, the site amenities, all the furniture within the school, everything that would need to be able to operate the school for all the students and the teachers. So that's where we are now, up until June 18th. And then after that total project budget is set, that's the number that's going to go to town meeting. Oh, go back one more, Marty, I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah.
Because we have two important dates. So we have September 9th and September 30th. September 9th will be the town meeting. It's a special town meeting for this project. And then we're going to have the special election on September 30th. And that is to approve the project, approve the total project budget. And from there, then we can move into construction documents where we start really getting into the details of this design. And we bring on a construction manager at that point to, we have ourselves, we have the architect who's Jones Whitsitt Architects, and then we're going to be bringing on a construction manager as well. So that's where we are now. Construction is estimated to start in the fall of 2026 and move in the summer of 2028. And then once the kids are moved in, then we're going to start the demolition of the existing Williams School. And then after that's demo, then we'll finish the parking lots and some of the field from there. So that's kind of where we are high level schedule-wise, if there's any questions on schedule.
Yeah, before we move to the project budget.
Yep.
Does anyone have any questions? Anyone at home? Oh, wait, Michaela? Yep.
Yeah, I just have to clarify. So it says that you're going to move in the summer 2028, but the demo for the old school is going to start in the fall. So how will the kids be in school?
Yes.
When that happens, or after?
No, they'll be in school. So I do a lot of school projects, and most of the projects I do are, building a new building on the same campus that's already occupied by students and teachers. So what will happen is during that, they'll move in over the summer. So that means bringing in all the new furniture, bringing over teachers' belongings, those types of things, getting ready for the new year in the fall. And then in the summer, what they're going to do is then they'll move their construction fence from the new construction that they're doing, and they'll put it around the existing Williams, and they'll set up a new temporary drive, all those types of things to make sure that there's safety measures in place for when the schools or the kids are back in school and parent drop-off and so on and so forth. So we'll make sure there's a full logistics plan that's set up for that demolition period. But yes, they will be in school while the demolition is going on. But we do it all the time. It's, there's a lot of eyes on the project, internally and externally. We're making sure that everybody's safe during that process.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? All right.
Could I note one more thing, that part of what happened at the beginning of May is that we had submitted to the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education special education delivery methodology. It was an extensive, detailed document. It's the one part of the building project where DESE gets involved, and they had to give a green light on our special education delivery model. So we were excited to submit that to DESE. We were excited to respond to some of their limited feedback and then ultimately get their approval. So that was another sort of important milestone within a milestone, because it was a sign that we had been thoughtful about the special education delivery model and the spaces that we have set up to create an even more inclusive approach to supporting special education students. So that was exciting, and I'm grateful for the time that Nicole Paris-Crowe put into pulling that document together and getting it submitted to DESE, along with the help from Colliers and our design team as well. So that was a huge milestone that was sort of inside of some of the milestones that you see here. So I'll go to the...
Yep, we can move on to the next slide. So this here, I'll just start off by saying, so this is a draft. These numbers are not approved until that June 18th meeting, where we actually get approval from the MSBA board. So these numbers here is just in draft mode, but we've gone through with our entire team, with the district, with the design team to come up with this budget based off the initial plan. And again, these are just drafts, so if we hear of any numbers kind of floating around out there, there's no, those aren't set in stone yet. These numbers are super preliminary at this point. So the total project budget that we have right now is $151,594,774. And so again, that's what I mentioned, that covers the building, the site, all the furniture that's within that building, everything to occupy the building and use it for its intended use.
Soft costs, design fees.
Yeah, architect,
Yeah.
yeah, our fee, yeah, contingencies, that's everything that's needed for the project. And so the town of Long Meadow has a MSBA reimbursement rate, so all MSBA projects get assigned an MSBA reimbursement rate. So our rate, which is including incentive points, is 56.37%. And so those incentive points include, using green materials, that we're being conscious of the environment. So this project's going geothermal, so that's, a large incentive point for the project. The building envelope and how sealed it is, and those types of things that the MSBA looks at. So if we meet that criteria, we get those additional points. That brings us up to 56.37%. The maximum total facilities grant from the MSBA is $779,864. So that is based on the eligible cost. So that's the big term in there. So you get your 56%, but it's off of the eligible cost. So there are going to be some costs in every project that we do that are ineligible for reimbursement. So that's why that number is at the $54 million and change as the total facilities grant from the MSBA. In previous projects, we've been in the 90% of receiving all those funds for the total grant back from the MSBA. So we have a really good track record of getting all those funds back. As I mentioned before, the September town meeting, and then there's the ballot vote for the authorization, and then we're working with the town for the borrowing and timeline. So they're going to look at the bonding options and market conditions, and then the timeline to bond is going to be looking at the start of September of 2025 once we get approval for this project, and then we want to go into negotiations with the construction manager.
Madam Chair, if
Yeah.
I may. First, I'd like to say thank you to the school committee for your continued support in this endeavor. The school building committee could not do what it does without you. To the members leaving, at this term. I remember leaving and how emotional I was at my last meeting, so congratulations on serving out your term. The community really appreciates what you do, but doesn't understand what you do. So having sat in that chair, I know how hard it is and what you give to this job, so there. On the project, I want to say we're really proud that the total project budget is coming in right where we started from. So from day one, when we came up with a preliminary estimate with Colliers, we were right about this number.
Our budget was $152 million.
And so we're right there. And when people say, well, is that number, funny math, like, how did you end up at the same exact place? Well, we also had to hire 2 independent estimators who had nothing to do with the project
Correct.
to come back, look at the project and give us costs, and their costs within thousands of dollars came out to the same exact estimation from the beginning. So we feel really good about the work that went behind this, the transparency of the work that went behind this, and how it was costed out. So just wanted to say we feel really good about that. What I would stress, though, is that we still have the meeting on the 18th. These numbers are not set in stone until the 18th. Nobody should be using these numbers as a guide to anything but a preliminary estimate at this point. We feel good about the meeting on the 18th. We just had a meeting on last week with the MSBA, and they were asking us a lot of questions about the project, spaces, uses. Like Marty said, they were very commending us on the use of space for special education. They lauded our music and art programs in town and the use of the STEM spaces in the schools. So I can tell you that we feel pretty good about the plan right now. We can't wait until the 18th to get the go-ahead to move to construction design documents.
Right.
And if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to take them.
Does anyone have any questions? All right, seeing no questions. Thank you for coming out. Thank you, Mr. Ray, for stepping up to serve your community again and tackling not only just serving on this middle school building committee, but also being the chair of the middle school building committee. We appreciate your guidance and expertise over the last year. And Mr. D'Alessio, thanks for coming out and for
Thank you very
helping and
much.
keeping all of this chugging along at the
We're
pace
doing
that
great.
it's been
So,
going.
yeah.
It's
All
very
right,
exciting.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much. All right, that brings us to our next item on the agenda, which is student handbooks. Mr. Landers.
We'll invite Mr. Landers to come on up. Just want to share something here. Give me 1 second. Just want to pull up a file to get us going here. It's done. All right, so cell phones have been the topic of considerable conversation, probably going back a year, I'd say, when this committee had heard from a number of residents and community members and staff about concerns about sort of responsible use of cell phones and other personal e-devices. And so the conversations have happened here at the school committee. We did, I'd say, an ambitious survey of staff and parents and caregivers. I had a chance to work with a LHS student focus group at Longmeadow High School. Tom Landers has had considerable conversation with his school council, and as you know, school councils are responsible for pulling together handbook recommendations for consideration by the school committee. And so pleased tonight to offer sort of a comprehensive recommendation for you on the use of cell phones and personal e-devices in schools. And so I want to note before we get into the details that this really, the recommendation that we have for you tonight, it I hope is very strongly reflective of the survey that we had done earlier this year, in the sense that it is sort of an age-based tiered approach to cell phone use in school. I think we heard concerns, obviously, about how the distraction that cell phones create. We heard from staff about concern about students carrying cell phones into restrooms or on their way to the office. We also heard concerns from parents that they felt that, they wanted children to have access to cell phones or e-devices, certainly after school at least, in order to contact their children. We also heard from families that the tiered approach made sense, in that, what makes sense at the elementary level might not make sense at the middle, and might not make sense at the high school level as well. And so what we have for you tonight essentially is a recommendation that in all grades, pre-K through 12, there would be an expectation that student devices would be turned off and stored away, meaning not carried on their person during the school day. The exception to this would be instances at the high school, and again, Mr. Landers has had considerable conversation with his staff and parents and the school council. Exceptions would be that during ice blocks, during lunchtime or during passing time, at the high school, students would still be able to access their devices. Otherwise, their expectation would be that the devices are off and away, stored in a backpack, or stored perhaps in a cell phone hotel. And so that would be the expectation in all grades. At the elementary level, what came up a lot in conversation was wearable technology, specifically smartwatches. And so the elementary principals are recommending that handbook language disallow students wearing e-devices, even if they're in school mode or turned off. Too often it's created some discord, I guess, between students who leave their device, their wearable device on, or they forget to turn it off at the elementary level. The feeling was that that wearable technology, those e-devices, could be left stored in backpacks or in lockers as well. And so for your consideration tonight, we also know that a lot of this is about the culture that we have to establish. And I think what also came out from this committee and from the feedback we received is that we really need to find places where we can continue to teach students to use cell phones responsibly. We want to continue to think about ways to engage parents in this conversation. I've thought about this almost as a social norms campaign. I take that phrase from the close community, where you're trying to establish shared understandings and shared awareness about responsible use of cell phones, or the harms that cell phones can present to both young and old people alike. And I want to put one last underscore on the last bullet you're seeing, and that is consistent enforcement by staff and the administration, so that if a student's in Mr. Landers' class or they're in my class, they're getting a similar message, and we're not making sort of independent decisions about when we allow students to use cell phones. It has to be at the high school level. If there is an educational instance where a staff member wants to permit cell phone use, then the staff would continue to have that discretion. And so included in your packet was the proposed language for K-5, 6, 8, and 9, 12. Again, I'd say universally it's about devices being off and away, not on their person, and with some exceptions at the high school that are articulated in your packet as well. So for your consideration tonight, and Tom was kind enough to come along because I think more than any of the levels, he's had to spend a considerable amount of time on this, sort of understanding what his school council wanted, and what made sense for Long Meadow High. So, Tom, anything to add? And then we can invite feedback or conversation or questions.
Sure. No, I mean, I think you nailed it. At the high school, we've been proactive since smartphones came out. They became kind of omnipresent. By 2010, 2011, we never decided to be laissez-faire. We did decide to regulate rather than ban. We've adjusted over the years. We've come back to the committee as needed to update language, tighten things. The real proposal here from the high school tonight is a change to say, rather than it's the existing policy is off and away in classrooms. And we do a good job. I think our teachers, manage their classrooms effectively. We don't have a lot of referrals. We have a lot of education and reminding of students, because that's part of what we do. But our referrals have dipped year after year after year, and they've been pretty stagnant for the last few years. The difference is that right now, they have to be off and away, and a teacher can separate a student from their device. The proposal is that a teacher must separate a student from their device. That's the difference. It would do two things in our opinion. It would give the teacher the authority to say, you will separate from your device, you will put it in a cell phone tower, or you will put it in your backpack, or just because not every teacher wants to use a cell phone tower and not every student might have a backpack, or another identified place by a teacher. But it would move it from can separate them to everyone will, to create that consistency that you mentioned, Marty. But the hope is two byproducts. One, it's going to make our approach in the classroom even better. It's going to make it easier for teachers to manage. They do a good job, but there are only two eyes, and it gives more help to classroom management. It also takes away the tendency, the habit of a student to try to reach for it if it's off of their person. And secondly, an area that we can do a better job in is even if a student has their phone off and away in their pocket, if they use the hall pass, it's with them in the hallway. We can do a better job of that. They're not, the current policy says you're not supposed to have them in the hallway when you go to the restroom during class. It's different from passing time. If we separate students from their devices in the classroom, it will help with classroom management, but it will also resolve that issue. And we can do a much better job in terms of that. Kids meeting up in the bathroom, planning to meet up in the bathroom. If you take that away, you take away a lot of distractions, and that's what it's all about. So that's really the extent of the high school's proposal tonight.
Well, sort of, and I'll just a little asterisk, while also sort of respecting that, we're working with folks who are becoming adults, and they're 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old, and so kind of want to provide students the opportunities to access their device during lunchtime or during an ice block or passing time, and we think that kind of balances, again, what we heard in the surveys for staff and parents is that they felt like, we did hear from parents, particularly of high school students, that it's important for them to be able to check in with their child about what's happening after school, a job, a club, a sport, an activity, a pickup, a ride, a younger sibling, that kind of thing. So it has provides some allowances in that area. I'd say there's no perfect cell phone policy out there, period. And I also recognize that the state is, there's some legislation pending that might go further than this. We're not sure. We're paying attention to it, but we're not quite sure what will happen with cell phone legislation at the state level. There are schools that are sort of doing a bell-to-bell ban on cell phones. What that means, how that plays out, I couldn't say. But so for your consideration, happy to answer any questions or get additional information if it would be helpful.
All right, thank you for this work, appreciate it. We'll open to questions. Julie?
Yeah, Marty, I think over time, when we've discussed cell phones in the committee, you've often cited to our policy being off and away. And so I think, particularly for parents who had pushed pretty hard for a stronger ban, I think it would be very reasonable for them to read this as not much of a change at all. So I wanted to give you some time to speak to why you think this is, or to the extent that you do think it is, a meaningful change from what's going on right now. And I would love for you to talk about that both in terms of technically what the policy changes, but also what outcome do you expect at both the middle school and the high school levels?
Sure. So it won't be in their pocket, and I think it will be in a backpack or in a cell phone hotel. And so what a lot of the research that I've seen is suggested is that the proximity that a person has to their phone, often that alone creates a distraction. It certainly creates a temptation. So the fact that it won't be in their person and they won't be they won't have that temptation to look down and check a message or check a post. I think it removes that temptation, it removes that distraction. The other piece of it is the restroom piece. As Tom said, at the high school, we don't have, I'd say the issue at LHS is, from what I've heard, what has been reported to me, it's not so much about tug-of-wars in class as much as it is the restroom piece of it, and students getting antsy in class and wanting to leave just for the purpose of checking their phone. And so I think it will have, I think it is a significant shift for us to require that the cell phones not be in a child's pocket. It doesn't change anything K-5. At K-5, the devices were expected to be in backpacks or lockers. K-5, the change is the wearable technology. But I'd say at the middle school, it will have it'll be a significant shift, again, because of that temptation that students have to check their phone during class or to want to leave class to check their messages. And so I do think it's a subtle shift, but I think it's a significant shift for us. And I think it's one that's reflective of, again, what we've heard and sort of how cell phone use plays out here in Longmeadow. It might be different in other schools. I know we talked a lot about the pouches, the cell phone pouches, and I've frankly heard very mixed reviews on the pouches. They're expensive, and I don't think they achieve what school districts want them to achieve in many cases. So we think we have students that we don't need to have these separate pouches. We think we have students that will respect the expectation that the device be in their backpack or in a cell phone hotel. So that's a long answer, Julie, but I do think it's a significant shift for us.
Nicole, can I ask one more question?
Yeah, of course.
Thanks, Marty. My other question is, in crafting these policies, like other school districts, one of the big topics of conversation is the enforcement and the extent to which it puts burden on the staff. And I think in many cases, that's where the locked pouches thing, comes in, is where there's a lot of concern that policies like the one that you're proposing here put most of the enforcement responsibility on the staff. Can you speak to how you thought about that factor here?
Yeah, I think this actually will diffuse a lot of the enforcement challenges. It will eliminate the instances in class where students are tempted to look at their phone. I think the pouches come with some management challenges as well, but I'd invite Tom's thoughts as well, or certainly Andrew.
Yeah, Andrew?
To add to that, a lot of the time when we're talking about enforcement, I think this is going to make it a lot easier because, for example, if you have all your students putting their phones in a phone hotel, what a teacher can do is at the beginning of class, they can go through and check all the assigned phone hotel pouches because each student has a number they get assigned to for their phone. And then since the teacher's checking at the beginning of class, they don't have to worry about, and they know which student had their phone in the pouch or not, then that makes it a lot easier to enforce once instead of throughout the entire class period. That's the theory.
Tom, anything?
Yeah, I mean, I, just reiterating, since phones, I was amazed at how many districts had no policy. I think, we don't know what DESI's going to say, but I think DESI is going to come out and say, you better have a policy. We've had an approach and policies since they started coming on the, in 2007, 2008. By 2010 and 11, they were omnipresent. We've always had it. We've never ignored it. I think we've adjusted. I think that at the high school level, I can't speak for middle school, but we enforce it. We've enforced it so much that we had a lot of battles. I think what Marty said is you put it into the culture. You start, like I do every year in the August newsletter. I chat about it very candidly at the opening day class assemblies. We hit it hard through communication with students and teachers and staff the first week and month. So we have done that. We will continue to do that. I think that this adjustment at the high school makes sense. I do not think that, I think that, there are a lot of districts that wanted to go the pouch. I think that those districts are having their own challenges. It's expensive. There are magnets to open those. There are ways that you can get around that. And in the real world, we're trying to, at least at the high school level, we're trying to teach students to be responsible and be independent. And there are a lot of good reasons for phones that we all have them, but we do think that the frontal lobe of an adolescent brain is helped and supported when you make this adjustment to separate them from this. And like I said, I just want to clarify, there are the majority of teachers at LHS in the classroom either use a backpack approach or a cell phone approach anyway, but we can get better and we can tighten up, and this is for the teachers who may not don't do that or may be a little lax, and bringing it into more consistency is going to help kids at the end of the day, we think. So it's an adjustment, but it's also on top of policy that's been enforced pretty consistently, and we educate on this as well. We talk about this is in our health curriculum. We talk about how it is addictive when we teach other addictions in the health curriculum. So it's a multifaceted approach, and at the high school at least, we hope that you think that it makes sense.
Tom, how do you feel about the enforcement of this approach versus the enforcement of just off and away, but it's in their pocket? I mean, do you feel like it relieves?
I think it's gonna make it easier for classroom teachers to manage. It's a classroom teacher's job to manage their classroom. I think it's gonna make it easier because kids are resourceful. Drew is on our school council, and we chatted a lot about that. And you never know where the kids' thumbs are when their hands are in their pockets. This will help that. It'll make it easier for a child to avoid temptation. It'll help the teacher, and it will, if they get up to use the hallway pass, they can't go to their backpack or go to the cell hotel, or we're going to enforce that. So it'll help with that as well. So, I think it'll help on a couple of fronts. I think we have a good approach right now, age-appropriate approach at the high school, but I think this will improve it because we can get better, a little bit better in the classroom. We can get a lot better in the hallways during classroom time, in my opinion.
Andrew?
I just wanted to reiterate, correct me if I'm wrong, but the majority of parents, students, teachers, et cetera, didn't want a all-out ban in terms of phones at the high school, correct?
Yeah, I'll let the superintendent verify the parents. The teachers, we had two different votes. We had a lot of dialogue. They support doing more, but there wasn't a call for banning them entirely.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think it was, the responses were very mixed.
Yep.
They were more mixed than I anticipated. I expected that there would be kind of a groundswell for full-on ban, but I think what came out was, again, probably the two things that jumped out of the survey most frequently for me were consistent enforcement. A lot of this is on us administratively or our classroom teachers. And then also sort of a tiered approach, not a one-size-fits-all. So, yeah, I think what you're saying is true.
Yeah, so in addition to that, I think this provides a nice compromise with a lot of the parents who are concerned about distraction in the classroom, because that's ultimately what this is meant to reduce, but it still helps in terms of after-school activities at lunch, so it's kind of a nice in the middle. I think it's a much better sweet spot than what we had before.
Other questions, thoughts? Yeah, Jamie?
I don't have an issue with the high school side of this. I don't think most people do. I think this is a fair compromise. As long as we enforce it the way we're talking about, I think it's going to be fine. I do think, we're not talking about elementary and middle in this. Is it strictly high school, this conversation, or?
I
Well,
think we're talking about all.
there's, elementary and middle are included in this, but it's not on their person for any reason at elementary and middle.
So
At the high school, they potentially could use it during lunch or an ice block. Middle and elementary, not on their person. And short of checking backpacks of kids on their way in the door or short of the pouches,
Yeah.
I'm not sure how we could keep cell phone. I would love to keep cell phones out of school at that level. I'm not sure how we can do that short of the, checking backpacks or the magnetic pouches.
But I would say, I agree, you don't know what they have or what watch they have in there, but if you make it I just look at this as I don't know why a child needs a cell phone in elementary school or watch. I get the high school thing. There is a sense of kind of figuring things out, who's picking up who, where are we going, that side of it. But at elementary school, I have yet to hear a good reason to have cell phone in there. So ban them if they have them there. Principal gets to take it, have the parent come in and let them know what the policy is again. I don't understand elementary school.
They should never, let me put
No
it.
one sold me on this idea.
Let me put it
yet.
this way.
I get this.
A cell phone or a personal e-device should never see the light of day at the elementary level.
But it
More
does.
than that, actually.
But it does, though.
This
That's
language
where I
actually
don't-
says that
It's
it can't
not
be
permitted.
turned on
It can't
at
be
any
turned
point.
on.
And if it's found to be turned on,
So what do we
powered
do?
on, then
What
it
do
would
we
go to
do?
the office.
We don't do anything, detention, suspension, anything
No,
in
there
these
would
grades
be,
anymore.
no, there would be
Like-
consequences.
But
Yeah, the
kids
consequences
use
are in
them.
here.
They do use them. I don't think we enforce it.
Well, and again, I think that's where, like I said earlier, some of this is on us, just to make sure that we are,
As long as we're gonna enforce that,
Yeah,
I just don't,
yeah.
I don't see, I can go in middle school, okay, maybe a little bit of a
Yeah.
reason. You're doing really dumb things in middle school. High school, they're being somewhat sensible and doing a little bit of dumb stuff, is
Yeah.
basically what it
Yeah,
is.
they should-
So it's a little bit dumb, then there's a whole lot of dumb in middle school, and why did you ever let them bring, hey parent, why did you ever buy them a $1,000 phone in the first place? What do they need it for? Give me a break. So,
Yeah.
it just makes no sense. If you as a parent think that makes sense,
should-
then you don't make any sense.
they should never.
It just doesn't.
They should never surface, they should never
They
make,
shouldn't be
they
out.
should not.
They do, as long as we enforce that in a way that's
Yeah.
fair. The kid obviously isn't be hey, we don't expect these to hear, hey, parent, please stop sending the phone.
I will tell you, the number of elementary students that we're seeing with smartwatches has
It's
increased
it's
significantly.
insane.
And so this will be a shift, a significant shift for many families. It's not only, previously, we said that if you're going to have wearable technology, it had to be off or in school mode. Now we're saying there is no wearable technology. Again, these personal e-devices should not see the light of day.
I'm good with that
And if
as
it's
long as we
found to be
enforce it.
turned on, and I liked this part, that the first time, and this is at the elementary level, the student could pick it up at the end of the day, but anytime after that, the parent has to come in and pick it
Yeah,
up.
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's fair. That's, and just being upfront with it, hey, we don't want to see this.
Yeah.
The high school, here's where it's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair enough. Obviously, you had a nice assortment of teachers, parents, representatives, and then adapt as we go. If that doesn't work and we see more issues than not, then we make it more.
And that was a conversation Tom and I had. I said, well, do you think we're going to see, some the wearable technology at the high school? And I think that's something that we'll have to monitor.
Yeah.
And tighten up if need be.
Julie?
Marty, you just said something about like the phones really not seeing the light of day at the middle school. Maybe you didn't mean that, but I just had a question about that because the policy says
Yeah.
that they can be used at the teacher's discretion at the middle school. And can you walk us through like how that would work
At
for
the,
phones?
yeah, at the elementary level, they shouldn't see the light of day. At the middle school, it would only be if the teacher, let's say, there could be a bunch of different examples, and I asked Tom to help me out, even though he's not a middle school principal, but a student in a special education classroom who has, some assistive application on their phone, or if there is a classroom where the children are, they need some quick access to information, or they want to ask their teacher if they can check their schedule for something. It's pretty rare. My expectation would be it'd be few and far between the number of times where a teacher provided that direct permission to a student to take their phone out of a backpack or a phone hotel. And it would have to be for some,
Part of the reason.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry.
it would have to be for some,
I think-
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna clarify, like, at least, I have not followed this year to year, but at least at the 6th grade level, they don't bring their backpacks around with them, right? I don't know about the older kids. But like, I guess what I'm asking is like, are you kind of asking for kids to get in trouble if some teachers say, you can use it in my class, but they don't actually have a way to carry it around with them?
I think if it were the position of the committee that you wanted to strike that language around a situation where a teacher might give permission to a student to take their phone out of the backpack, I think it's like, it could be a counselor who is working with a child, and the child needs to contact home. It could be, I'm not providing a good list of examples here,
Well, just a note to say that one part of the language too, Julie, does say as part of a structured learning activity with direct permission of the teacher, so there shouldn't be an instance where a teacher says, you're allowed to use my phone or your phone in my class in a more generic way. It would have to be, on Tuesday, there will be this activity, or today, I'm going to invite you to.
Yeah, the one that comes up most frequently, at least in my experience, is the kids use them to tune their instruments
Makes
in
sense.
orchestra.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm just, I don't really care about the language one way or another, as long as it's not something that kind of asks for kids to end up with a phone in their pocket that they get in trouble
yeah,
for.
That makes
I
sense.
appreciate you giving me a much better example than I was able to provide, but yeah, a kid setting a timer or tuning an instrument, yeah. Yeah.
All right, other thoughts, questions, suggested? Seeing none, we're not taking a vote on this because it's handbook language?
No, well, the high school, by statute, high school handbook language has to be approved, I believe. School councils have to approve
We
it, but
already
ultimately
did,
has to be
correct?
approved by the school committee. Our practice historically has been to run all handbook language, even K-8 language, through the school committee.
Yeah.
So if you feel like you have enough information to vote, you could tonight. If you felt like
I didn't craft a
Oh,
motion.
a motion,
so
okay, there we go.
It would have to be on the fly.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sorry.
yeah.
No, that's okay. We could also circle back to it another time. We've already approved the handbook for this coming year, so this would be an amendment, correct?
No.
You have not.
We have not
You
for the-
approved the educational opportunities book, but
That's
not
right.
the handbook.
Okay, so is that coming to us when? June 17th?
This is the
This is
handbook
it.
changes.
This is,
Yeah.
these
This
are
is
the
our
only
only
changes.
proposal.
Gotcha,
Get the-
that's okay. Wasn't sure if there was another step.
Yeah.
All right, then, other questions and/or possible motions that anyone might want to make? Follow-up question. Because of how we typically approves the high school one. Do we need to do that separately?
I think you could do it in a single vote if you wanted, I'd
Yeah,
say.
so the changes to the high school 2025-26 student handbook and the K-8 student handbook
Amendments.
amendment.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. All right. Questions and/or possible motions?
What exactly did you say there? I move to approve the 2020, yep, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Can you just answer? I'm not sure if you answered the question I was asking. Are kids gonna end up practically with phones in their pocket to comply with teacher requests?
No, no.
If you're fine with it, then I'm
Yeah.
fine with it, but I don't understand how that gets enforced in ways that
No,
kids.
no, there certainly would never be a requirement. It would be if there was some educational moment that was structured and the teacher gave explicit direct permission.
I think she's asking about, so for
Okay,
example,
and
with
if
the
the
sixth
child-
graders, if the sixth graders are leaving their backpacks in their lockers all day,
Yeah.
then how would they have them for music? The seventh and eighth graders maybe carry their backpacks around? I'm not 100%
Yeah,
on
and
this.
it's probably different at both
Whereas the
schools.
sixth graders leave them in their lockers, so they would have to carry them in their pockets
I
in
see.
order to bring them to
I see.
music class. Am I clarifying that correctly,
I
Julie?
see.
That's exactly right.
Thank
I
you.
see. Yeah, no, we wouldn't.
And they just use some other tool to?
Yeah, I mean, I think
You would
increasingly,
think, but I feel like my experience has been that this is teacher by teacher and the kids get
Yeah.
a little bit stuck in the middle.
Gotcha.
yeah,
Can look up, can you use a Chromebook to tune an instrument?
That I don't know.
yeah, I think oftentimes, yeah, finding a viable substitute for times when kids might think they need to use a cell phone probably makes a lot of sense. I see it happening very, very infrequently. I also don't want to jam a kid up the other way where we have a completely black and white inflexible policy that wouldn't allow a child to ask a teacher to use their cell phone in the middle of a counseling session or a special education session or a music session where it might, like the example you gave. I think it would happen pretty infrequently. I mean, if you felt like you wanted us to tighten up that 6-8 language, I'm happy to take another run at that, but I see this as trying to eliminate, I'm trying to eliminate the time, the situations where there's not that clarity.
Andrew?
It looks like
Success?
you can use a Chromebook, yes, to tune
To
an
tune an
instrument.
instrument, there you
There
go.
you go.
Okay. Andrew, in a very meta moment, used his cell phone
Use the cell
to
phone.
find out
the
that
cell
this
phone
can be done on a
policy.
Chromebook.
If I had my Chromebook here, I would have used my Chromebook.
You and I were chatting earlier today, Marty, about places where the kids are getting a sense of injustice because the rules are getting enforced in weirder ways. So to me, I don't love things where it's weird. It
Right.
puts it on the kids to navigate lack of clarity. But so I'm happy to. I'll
Right.
just vote no on this. It's fine.
Yeah.
You guys should proceed.
Good.
If you wanted to approve the 9-12 handbook, or we could take the feedback back and bring you back, some thoughts.
We could
we
also
could-
amend a vote after, or amend a motion if a motion is made. And enough people would like to amend a motion to exclude 6 through 8 language, or we can vote and see what the full committee thinks and go from there. Number of options. Jamie, do you want to kick us off
With the motion?
with a motion? Go for it. Whichever one you
Yep.
would like to start with.
I move the school committee approve the Long Meadow High School Student Handbook and the Long Meadow K through 8 Student Handbook for the 2025-2026 school year with the new cell phone language and personal e-device language.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Now would be a moment if anyone would like to make any amendments or propose any amendments or move to make an amendment. Seeing no amendments, we'll move to a discussion. Any further discussion? Seeing no discussion, we'll move to a vote. Estelle?
Yes.
Julie?
Uh-huh.
Michaela?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
And yes for me as well. All right, thank you. Appreciate
so
your
much.
time, Mr.
All right.
Landers.
Thanks, Tom.
Appreciate it.
All right. That brings us to school committee announcements and recognitions. All right, we have some folks who are finishing their terms with us, and so we're gonna do a little bit of a goodbye thing for those folks. And Estelle and Julie, we have these lovely plaques that are gonna be headed your way. So I'll touch base with you about getting that to you, and we'll start there. All right, so first up, Estelle. Estelle, thank you so much for stepping up to serve your community in a moment of need. We really appreciate your willingness to serve. It has been a joy to work alongside you this last year. We appreciate the energy and the attention that you have brought to this role, as well as your technological insight. Very useful. And we wish you all the best moving forward and hope to see you back on school committee maybe in a few more years. Next.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate you serving. Next up is Julie. Another plaque for Julie. All right. Julie, you've been here with us for the last 3 years, and it has been a huge pleasure and honor to serve alongside you for those last 3 years. You bring an amazing amount of experience to the role and education to this role, and you've been a wonderful resource for us all throughout and along the way. We appreciate the years that you devoted to this role, your careful attention to policy, and your insights as a parent and as an education professional. You can always be counted on to carefully listen to all sides of an issue and then thoughtfully offer a reasoned opinion. And you have impressed all of us in so many ways over the last few years. We've been lucky to have you. And we will miss your expertise and attention to detail and thoughtfulness. And wish you all the best moving forward.
Thank you. Can I?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I say something?
You absolutely can.
I just wanted to, sorry I'm not there in person. I think the reason why I'm not there in person is also the reason why I'm not running for re-election. I took a new job in April that requires a lot of travel, and it's like really bittersweet for me because I think being on the school committee was just a really nice connection to the community for someone who works who spends most of my time in Washington D.C. or now in New York as well. So anyway, I just wanted to say thank you to the rest of the committee, and in particular to Nicole and Marty for making this a really meaningful experience for me. And I think the school committee is such a critical piece of the town's infrastructure. It's just really, really important. Our town is run in this kind of volunteer participatory way, and to me this is one of the most important roles that people can serve in. And like what we're seeing in schools across the country, the quality of the education that we're able to provide and the accessibility of that education to every student, the ability for students to show up as their full selves and have access to, real and meaningful educational material. It's just like, it's not a sure thing. It's not set in stone. It's only really as good as the community's commitment and as the leaders who show up. I just think it's really important to have school committee members who are champions for education and hold push to support educators and to get the funding that we need. And so I just appreciate all of you who are staying on the committee, and I'll really miss working with you all.
We'll miss working with you as well. For those who don't know, Julie also has done this work for a number of years at a federal level. So she brings an extra insight and a lot of service, not just to the town of Longmeadow, but to the United States as a whole. So thank you very much for all of that. All right, and then lastly, Andrew Medeiros headed off for college. It's been an honor to work alongside you for the last 2 years. Glad you were able to be with us. You've been an amazing ambassador for the high school, for the town as a whole, and your work with student council has been nothing short of amazing.
Thank you.
You guys have, over the last few years, just completely reshaped student council and student government for the town of Longmeadow.
That's all Mr. Alwick, that's not me.
I think the legacy of that will move forward, and you guys as students have done a lot of that work. She definitely has been an amazing resource, and you guys have brought a great amount of energy to that role, so we wish you all the best at Colby. told me next year. And we look forward to hearing wonderful things about you in the future.
Thank you very much. I have a little bit more prepared in my final report, but thank
All
you
right.
all so much.
Love that. All right.
And if I could,
Yes, please.
just on behalf of the administration and Diane, I want to thank Julie and Estelle as well, and grateful for the feedback and the support and the openness and the opportunity to work through a lot of different issues over the last couple of years. And to Andrew, I've been amazed by some of our student reps over the years, but I would say that you've left my jaw hanging open sometimes with some of your insightful, really intelligent, well put together comments. So we're grateful for your ability to kind of represent student voices here in Long Meadow, because I know that's important to the committee as well. So thanks for all your time. We're going to miss you a lot as well.
Thank you guys. I'm going to miss you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Jamie?
Yep. And you are amazing, just to echo but the fact that you left, I don't even know what these say. They could say nothing.
Yeah.
But the fact that you took the time to do something like this
Yeah.
shows you what kind of person you are. This is an important part of anything, whether it's the
Yeah.
next job or whatever it is. And what you said in here, I'm sure, is fantastic. But the actual effort of doing those, that's incredible. It tells you kind of who you are. And the fact that you're doing that already, you're going to be super successful in whatever you do.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Any other committee members with announcements or recognitions? Michaela?
I just wanted to say thank you to Andrew it's been a pleasure to work with you on the school committee, and I agree with everything everybody said, but I just wanted to add, you're truly a natural advocate for students and for your community, and I hope that you continue to advocate because you're really great at it.
Thank you, Michaela. I'll definitely, don't worry, this is my final stopping point for this kind of stuff.
Any other thoughts? All right, we're headed into the superintendent report then.
Just a couple of quick items. We have a senior citizen luncheon scheduled on Thursday. 160 some odd signups.
Nice.
Might be an all-time high. And so attendees are treated to a performance by the choral students here in Long Meadow, and then barbecue lunch inside of our cafeteria put on by our food service company. So looking forward to that event. It's always really uplifting. If any committee members, if your schedules allow, we'd love to have you. And then the Witness Stones presentation is happening on Wednesday, the 29th. This is a middle school project where students, after having researched the experience of enslaved individuals from Long Meadow's past, have an opportunity to memorialize them with the Witness Stones in the center of town. So it's a moving event if anybody has an opportunity to join. That's Thursday at 9:30. So two really uplifting events scheduled this week.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Additional reports. LPVC, Zach? Okay, I don't think there was a report, so we'll keep going. Seal, Michaela, I think they had their last meeting, if I remember correctly.
Yes, no report, but keep your eye out for when the Bliss Park meet and greet in the fall will be in September. It's a really good time to meet everybody on Seal and connect with parents.
All right, wonderful. And energy and sustainability, any last report, Estelle?
Next meeting is scheduled either June 9th or 12th.
All right, wonderful. Student rep report, Andrew,
Okay, the final one.
last one.
Just to start out, last Tuesday, May 20th, we had our AP art show, and it was really awesome to see all of the awesome art that our students have put together. It's really creative and impressive. And then congratulations to the LHS boys volleyball team on their Western Mass win, and then good luck to all of our athletics teams as they head into the state tournament. And then just a final reminder for senior events, June 3rd is the award ceremony. And then that evening is the senior social. June 5th is prom at the log cabin. It starts at 6. Students must be inside the log cabin by 7. And then graduation is June 10th at Symphony Hall. And then finally, I just wanted to say thank you all so much for these last 2 years. I feel like I've grown a lot as a person as a result of hearing you guys speak. I feel like I've learned a lot from you. Thank you for sticking with me in those early days. Maybe when those reports were a little bit botched or not, hopefully a little bit more high quality now. But you guys have really taught me a lot, and I'll always be grateful for this experience. This experience will carry on with me as I move on throughout my life. And just thank you for everything, you guys.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Subcommittee reports. We're headed into those. No report from Finance Sub, Policy Sub. We have some policies that are ready to move forward on. Michaela?
Yes. So we have a second reading and possible approval of the policy ADF Wellness, which is posted to the district's website, and it received no public input. And we did have quite a detailed discussion about the wellness policy, and the Zari has incorporated the recommended changes into the current second reading of the policy. So we have a possible motion for that one.
We'll pause for that.
Can I make the motion?
You totally can.
Okay, I'll do it. I move on the recommendation of the policy subcommittee that the school committee approve policy ADF wellness as presented and dated May 20th, 2023.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this policy? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. Michaela?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Estelle?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
And yes for me as well. All right, Michaela, next up.
All right, next up, policy JLJC, administering medicines to students, was also posted to the district's website in accordance with policy BGB, policy adoption. That policy received public input, which was included in your packet.
All right.
So we have a motion for that one too.
Yep.
Or any discussion or anything, or just go for it?
Well, you can make the motion and then we'll see if anybody has any discussion.
Okay. I move on the recommendation of the policy subcommittee that the school committee approve policy JLJC, administering medicines to students as presented and dated April 29, 2010.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
May I?
Yes, please.
I want to represent the public comment that we did receive on the naloxone policy. I think the committee felt strongly, and I agreed that parents ought to have the ability to sort of opt out if they chose for their child not to be able to pick up one of the Narcan kits that's done, that are distributed in conjunction with our drug prevention education program at the high school. And so the respondent was concerned about sort of the logistics of that, but I think I can work that through with Mr. Landers. And then your policy also makes reference to sort of trained and trained non-medical personnel. I think the training is quite simple, and I think our drug education classes kind of orient students to how to use Narcan if they were ever in that position. And so, I think the close community has been very purposeful about providing some Narcan education to the wider community as well. So I just wanted to represent the feedback that we received, that the school committee received regarding policy JLCD. So I think we can, it could be something that continues to evolve, but I think we can sort of work through some of the concerns that were represented in the feedback that you received.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. Michaela?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Estelle?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
And yes for me as well. Thank you. And I think, oh no, I'm sorry, there's another one. This one's a first reading.
Student activity accounts, did that make it into the packet? Okay.
Yeah, the documents are in there. It's an update to policy IJF regarding student activity accounts, and it is revising the policy to put some safeguards in regarding the handling of the funds. We've eliminated building level checkbooks, which would now require all disbursements to be processed through the warrant process through the town. I know it's online.
It's online, but I didn't get the printed.
The
Paper copy.
physical copy.
It's in the
Gotcha.
electronic copy.
Okay.
It also adds a requirement for an audit to be conducted at least once every 3 years of the account. So those are the primary changes. There are also in the electronic packet a copy of the guidelines that kind of go along in more detail of the processing and the procedures related to handling of receipts and disbursements related to the student activity accounts. They are a separate document, and I would request that when we vote the updated policy, we would then also adopt the updated guidelines.
All right, perfect. So this is a first reading, which means we do not need to take any action tonight. It will be posted to the district's website for 30 days, and we'll return to it in the summer.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. No report from curriculum subcommittee, and that brings us to evaluation subcommittee. And Michaela, that's you again.
Yes, so we had our evaluation subcommittee meeting on Friday, May 23rd. And we read through all the individual school committee members' evaluations and formed one summative document that is always kind of fun to do because it's so reflective and it really highlights how lucky we are to have a really strong, dynamic superintendent that stays on top of everything. And so we have unified the evaluation, and it is up for a consideration tonight. And we can take a motion.
All right. So we'll open to discussion. If everyone wants to kind of peek through and talk a little bit about the evaluation. And/or if anyone has any questions about any portion of it. And/or if there are no questions yet, we can kick off with a motion and then circle around to questions.
I move on the recommendation of the Evaluation Subcommittee that the school committee approve the summative unified evaluation of the superintendent for the 2024-2025 school year as presented, and authorize the chair to sign.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All right, I'll do a very brief kind of maybe walkthrough of some of the main points here. The superintendent's evaluated on 3 things: a professional practice goal, which the subcommittee is recommending that we have a unified position of MET, a student learning goal with the same MET, and a district improvement goal, which we unified to exceeded. Not because the district improvement goal is completed, but because the progress that was made on the district improvement goal over the last year exceeded the expectations of where we would have expected it to be in year 1. There are then 4 standards. The first is on instructional leadership, which we rated proficient. The second on management and operations, which we rated exemplary. The third on family and community engagement, which we rated proficient. and the fourth on professional culture, which we rated exemplary. In the completed evaluation, you'll see that it begins with comments, which I'm going to circle back to so we can read together, and then notes on each of those goals, the professional practice and student learning goal and district improvement plan. And then under the standards section, we provided commendations and recommendations for each of those 4 standards along the way. So before we head into a vote, I'll just read the overview comments, which are, Dr. O'Shea does a fantastic job meeting the myriad needs of the school district and community. We are fortunate to have him. Overall, Dr. O'Shea has shown a level of leadership that is unmatched as compared to the surrounding towns in western Massachusetts. Dr. O'Shea has continually demonstrated his ability to not only assemble the best team of educators possible in a state with significant educational restrictions, but also to lead by example in fostering a safe space for rigorous student achievement. Success starts at the top, and Dr. O'Shea sets his district up for success by reminding us that we can daily keep trying to do better. Dr. O'Shea has demonstrated steady and thoughtful management during a dynamic and demanding year. His work in developing a comprehensive district improvement plan presented on schedule, advancing the middle school building project, leading inclusive negotiations, and prioritizing student well-being reflects a clear strategic vision and collaborative leadership style. So those are the notes for the comments, and the rest of the committee is able to see the entire recommended evaluation. Other thoughts, comments, or feedback? All right, seeing none, we can move to a vote. Michaela? Oh, we lost Julie, but she's coming back in.
Yes.
Thank you. Zach?
Yes.
Estelle?
Yes.
Julie?
Yeah.
Jamie?
Yes.
And yes for me as well. Thank you to all of the committee members for putting together your individual evaluations, and all of these documents will be public moving forward now.
May I?
All right. Yes, please.
No, just appreciate the committee's thoughtful attention to the process and the constructive feedback that I received in a number of areas. And as I've said, my work is the work of our administrative team. It's the work of educators and staff across the district, and none of this, I can't do anything on my own. I can only do the work that all of us are involved with, including the school committee. So I will certainly take the specific recommendations that are here and incorporate them into my annual plan next year. I look forward to taking our next steps with the district improvement plan, with the middle school project, and really want to take purposely the committee's recommendation to kind of stay engaged, continue to stay engaged at the classroom level, because that is what brings me a lot of joy, and finding time for that is something that I want to continue to prioritize. So I appreciate the committee's thoughtful feedback and attention to a rigorous process. This is not easy for school committee members to pull all this together, and I appreciate the synthesis, and I think all of the individual evaluations are reflected in the summative document. So I appreciate the support of the committee through this process and throughout the year, and the support and feedback and guidance and direction that they give our administrative team. So thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to new business, end-of-year transfer authority. Mr. Mazza, I'm guessing that's you.
Yes, tonight we are asking the school committee to consider granting authority to the superintendent to approve the end-of-year budget transfers that would be needed to close out the FY24 budget. The transfers would be done in accordance with school committee policy DBJA, which outlines the deficit threshold in which a transfer would be needed in a sub-control group line. That criteria is that the deficit needs to be at least 10% and is more than $1,000, or the deficit is more than $10,000, not sub-control group. We actually go a little farther. We basically try to zero out every line so there's no deficits at the end of the year. It is an annual thing that the school committee does vote the authority to allow us to get the transfers processed in a timely manner once the fiscal year closes after June 30th.
All right. Any questions related to the FY25 end-of-year transfer authority? And/or possible motions?
I move that as specified in the school committee policy DBJA, that the school committee grant authority to the superintendent to approve the necessary budget transfers between munis budgetary lines in order to close the FY 2025 accounts.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. Michaela?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
Estelle?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
And yes for me as well. Next up is gifts to the school.
So consistent with your policy requiring the school committee to accept tangible gifts, we had received a $1,000 gift for the LHS Art Department to purchase a specialized printer, and $1,000 to the Social Studies Department to apply for civics education materials. And additionally, a $1,000 gift from the Hannah County DA's office to support purchasing IT-related materials that promote healthy choices and student safety. So recommend to the committee that you accept these gifts on behalf of the district, and we'll be sure to circle back with the donors to thank them. The art department and social studies gift came from the LHS PAC, and the student technology for student safety came from the Hampden County DA's office, focused on public service and safety. So,
All right. Any discussion and/or possible motions?
I move that the school committee accept with genuine appreciation the gift to Long Meadow High School as described on the gifts to the school document dated May 25th, 2025.
Slight correction, May 27th, 2025.
May 27th, 2025.
Thank
Sorry.
you.
I had 20th in my head.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. Michaela?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
Estelle?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
And yes for me as well. We have a motion for executive session. We will be returning to public meeting after the executive session.
I move that the school committee meet in executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Purpose 2, to conduct a strategy session in preparation with the collective bargaining with units A, B, C, D, E, F, and H, and non-union personnel, independent contract administrators. Purpose 3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation. If in open session, it may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position. And purpose 7, consideration of release of executive session minutes of previous meetings to reconvene into open session.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
could I ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
And Diane, you might be able to help out. If the committee, they've indicated they potentially could return to open session if the committee chose not to come back into open session.
If
Is
you
there,
move to go into it, you have to come out.
You have to come out.
You can
Then adjourn the meeting.
Yep.
and then
Promptly
adjourn
adjourn.
the meeting.
okay,
Yes.
great.
All right. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. Michaela?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, mate. Zach?
Yes.
Estelle?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
And yes for me as well. We will return as soon as possible.
Leave with these with you.
I would love to take them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Stand by. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to the Long Meadow School Committee meeting. We are returned to session and have some new business related to independent administrator contracts and amendments. We'll entertain a motion.
Is the M supposed to be doctor, assuming? Or is that
No,
really
it's
M and
Moore.
Martin?
Yes, it is.
Maurice Martin. Okay. Do you want me to fully pronounce it? I do. I was just making sure. I move the school committee approve the contract for Superintendent M. Martin O'Shea for a 3-year period from July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2028, as presented for the 2026, and authorize the chair to sign the contract on behalf of the committee.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. Michaela?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
Estelle?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
And yes for me as well. We have another possible motion.
I move the school committee approve the contract amendments for the Assistant Superintendent for Finance and the Operations and Director of Special Education as presented, and authorize the chair to sign the amendments.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. Michaela? Michaela? Okay, we'll circle back to Michaela. Zach?
Yes.
Sorry, you guys froze.
That's okay. I was calling on you for your vote.
Oh, yes.
Zach, one more time.
Yes.
Thank you. Estelle? Oh. Estelle, you came on very briefly, but we did not hear you. Can you try one more time?
Yes.
Thank you. Julie?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
And yes for me as well. All right, we have one final motion to end out the evening.
I move the school committee adjourn the May 27th, 2025 school committee meeting.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. Michaela?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes.
Estelle?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
And yes for me as well. Have a lovely evening. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you all.